I was the first transgender parent, transgender man who was awarded full custody of my child in the state of Arizona. There's nothing that can explain what that feels like, to be told that you're not human and you don't have a right to the child that you birthed.
Tenemos que salir dos veces del closet, una vez decir que somos ilegales y luego salir de otro closet diciendo que somos homosexuales.
For intersex babies, they should leave it up to the individual until they're old enough to make their own decision to choose whether they want to stay that way or be male or female, whatever that they decide. I didn't get that choice.
Because of the colonization, we were taught that having different genders is wrong, and being homosexual, anything like that isn't straight is wrong. We are kind of reclaiming that back.
Being queer in Phoenix to me means being loved. As a parent, it's been really important to me to have a queer community around us so that we can do our best to raise our son and still continue to show up as community organizers and fight the good fight.
As of November the 3rd, 1971, I became the true me.
My name is Clarence Manikaja. I am 21 years old and I am from the Wallapai Nation. Being two-spirited in Arizona means being free. Hi, we're downtown Peach Springs at one of the parks, the many parks.
Peach Springs is a Wallapai reservation. Kingman is a mining town full of pretty much a slew of everyone who comes in from it. My name is Hawk. I've known Clarence for about a year now. Great guy, a lot of fun with him.
There really isn't a lot for us to do, especially older kids. I would like to get to know more, ethnicities and live more in a place where there are more people. Growing up in Peach Springs, two-spirit or gay or LGBT is somewhat in between bad and good. It is kind of not talked about sometimes. It's kind of brushed off. But at the same time, we also have that room to basically do our own thing. Within the LGBTQ community, there is struggles with racism and, discrimination of that sort. You know what I mean? We want to talk about love and acceptance. But how can we do that when we only, cross out certain people, body types, ethnicities, it really does need to start within the community first before we can branch out even more. I'm the same person in drag, in and out of drag, but my drag name is Claire Marie Antoinette, which has a background to it because my infatuation with Marie Antoinette, because I kind of grew up with a family who gave me kind of everything, but that's because I was doing good in school. And because of that, kids didn't like it because I always dressed up and I had the nicest things and they would attack me, which is basically what happened to Marie Antoinette. So, but other than that, I like to say it because of my sweet personality and because I really love to bake. I like to make cookies, cupcakes, brownies. That's why I like to say I'm the actual queen who says, let them eat cake. So I am like a leader type because when I came out, a bunch of other, in the closet Native Americans came out too. And, they saw it because I understood myself that I was comfortable enough to come out. They, talked to me about it before coming out. The thing that makes youth turn to alcohol, drugs, and, suicide or self-harming or any type of thing that harms them is basically not being accepted, not being listened to, and basically kind of being pushed to the side, you know. The main advice I can probably give is try to find a safe place, basically. You know, that's the first step. Make sure you have a backup plan, a place to stay if anything goes wrong, you know. Then just basically say what you have to say. If your family doesn't love you like that, then you have to leave, basically, and be your own person. That's the one advice I give. That's probably the major advice I give. It doesn't mean that you have to abandon your family. That love there is still going to be with them. But if they can't reciprocate or accept you for who you are, then you gotta, go out on your own and find your own family, basically. From like a very small age, I already knew I was different, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people already knew, because when I came out, everybody was just kind of like, "Oh, we already knew that. No point in telling us that. We already knew." Bad things can still happen on the res, even though we know each other and all that type of stuff. I've seen and I've heard, a bunch of kids who could achieve a lot turn to drugs and alcohol because they don't have somebody, and a lot of them are LGBTQ. Tonight, the domestic violence program is putting on an LGBT workshop, and they're going to be showing this movie called Two-Spirit, which is about a two-spirit individual who was murdered, and hopefully bring more light into what two-spirit is. Before colonization, Native Americans, we had 5 different genders, which was male, female, two-spirited male, two-spirited female, and transgender. But because of the colonization, we were taught that having different genders is wrong, and being homosexual, anything like that isn't straight, is wrong. The one thing I can say is that we are kind of reclaiming that back, because we are relearning the history and really digging up into it to understand it. In a sense, I've kind of always been seen as both by a lot of my family. Sometimes they don't even know what to call me, so normally they just call me Claire. Because I have, how can I say it, a strong personality type. I have the same things. I'm a powerful man, I'm a powerful woman. Don't tread on this person, you know what I mean? It kind of helps me with that. It kind of gives me that strength of, I can do whatever I want, whether I'm doing it manly or female-like, you know what I mean? That's how I use it.
My name is Millicent Carter Bloodworth. I am 70 years old. I'm also a Leo, and being both gave me the opportunity to be Miss Millie, the grand dame and the lady that I have grown to be. I am blessed that I had a brief moment with Motown teaching biological girls that you would know today how to walk in heels. Today, that's called a stylist, but for me in the 60s, it was being accepted. And finally, someone recognizing the woman in me. I'm also blessed to have parents that embraced who I am and who I wanted to be. My mother and stepfather took a second mortgage out on their home so I could become that woman. Some of these photos were taken before my complete transformation, for I was born trapped into the gender of not of my choice. As of November the 3rd, 1971, I became the true me. My very first Halloween here in Phoenix, that's me one Halloween as the witch. This is my brother, Miss Ebony, who came to Phoenix, Arizona and changed and put diversity in what it is today. Oh, Bubba, this is not the Arizona that my brother and I moved to 40 years ago. I was coming home the other day and I came down Central and I noticed how dark it was because of the high rises. And when I moved here, it was bright and the teenagers would drive up and down showing off their cars. And I thought to myself, oh, how country is that? I'm gonna get me one of these cowboys. And I did. And here I am preparing for Thanksgiving. Every Christmas or Thanksgiving, my brother and I would always have a soiree or New Year's. I remember once we had a New Year's party and introduced a number of our Caucasian friends. Black-eyed peas, cornbread, chitlins, and hog maws, and fried chicken. And when we set the place setting out, we had it on La Lique crystal and also China. My brother was very foo-foo that way. These are the girls that I've known. Charlene Champagne, she was one of the very first to be stricken with HIV. Brandy, another girl. Carmen Del Rio from Las Vegas. She had one of the first transgendered acts. This is my daughter, Casey Doodoo. She was a feminine little boy that I taught her how to be a lady and a woman. She passed of HIV as well. And I stopped taking in daughters and keeping them close to my heart. I am blessed that I have survived and lived the HIV years. Panic. People were dying without dignity. There were caregivers that were afraid to go in and touch the person that was HIV. I opened, along with Randy Gorbett, Buffalo House. This is the Buffalo House Foundation. This is 1616. These three, 1616, 1618, and 1620. These were the three that was under the Buffalo House Foundation. We were here for 8 years. This is my sad and depressed time. I worked Access Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday I titty danced at the Silver Fox at night and made more money dancing and being a loose woman, because early on when I told you the woman that was not afraid of her sex appeal intrigued me, but yet I wanted the image of a lady. I always wanted that picket fence. My husband, the 33 years that we have been together, has allowed me to be me authentically. When Donald came into my life, and he's younger than me, I felt like a cougar. I felt powerful. He allowed me to be me. I didn't have to put on makeup. I could just be me. And now it's been 33 years. I'm the prototype. And if they get a bitch that's older than me and done the things that I've done, I'm gonna give her her share. I'm going to give her her chair because I deserve the seat that I sat in.
Hi, my name is Chris Duarte, and I'm 36 years old. I live in Prescott, Arizona, and I identify as a transgender man. Being transgender in Arizona means fostering hope and compassion. I've transitioned, and I can easily pass within the framework and not be out. I choose to be out. Not to say, look at me, but to give others hope that it's okay to not have to just transition to the other side. You know, it's not about fitting into another box. It's about being yourself and being true and being real and being out. And for me, it's about sharing that piece of my life with others to give them hope that they can be happy and true themselves too.
It's important to me to live here because my family is here, but it's also beautiful and safe. It's a good place to raise our daughter. I love it. It's my home.
Yeah.
It was a shock. He told me on our third date, and I had never really met anyone. And it was a shock, but I had already really started to like this person. And so just going with the flow and taking one day at a time and getting to know each other was really helpful, and getting to know the person and not thinking about anything else. And now it's just part of our life. When people ask me that question, how do you identify? I have a really hard time answering it because I was always a straight woman and I just fell in love with this human.
I don't feel like we have a place in the LGBT community here because we lead on the exterior this all-American, white, middle-class, heterosexual couple, and then all of a sudden I do this rainbow stuff over here. And so part of what I am doing is to create a community here that has families and older generations and people in need and everybody to come together and support one another.
I love being a mom. It's been challenging. It's definitely been some blended family challenges, some parental dynamic challenges. Who is this person, mom or dad? Who am I? Who is her other family in Kingman? She started calling me mom at about age 14, and that was something that just came naturally.
It was the National Coming Out Day Halloween event. I always hang out with my parents. I love my parents a lot, and I do everything with them as much as I can because they're my favorite people in the entire world. It's different having a transgender parent, but I kind of enjoy it because we get bond in like the motherly way along with the fatherly way, and it's nice. The motherly way is like when he tells me something something for makeup, or like with the fatherly way of like he talks to me about personal relationships and how to like not be so emotional about it and like teaches me that in different ways.
I grew up in a really rural area in the high desert of California, where my nearest neighbor was a couple miles away and access to a community wasn't realistic. Grew up very sheltered. It wasn't okay to be different. And so I knew I was different, but I didn't share that with anyone else until I was an adult. So I didn't come out until I was 21 years old. And through that process, I had a daughter that I lost custody of because Arizona laws didn't protect my rights as a lesbian to have a child. There's nothing that can explain what that feels like, to be told that you're not human and you don't have a right to the child that you birthed. And having her taken away from me for 5 years and knowing what her life looked like during that time, getting her back, that was my drive, my passion of doing the work and getting out there and advocating and rallying and creating events and doing anything I could to get someone to listen. I was the first transgender parent, transgender man who was awarded full custody of my child in the state of Arizona. I'm a good parent. And that's what's important. I don't have a label. I don't have a mom or dad label. I'm a parent. I'm a parent first. And that doesn't have a gender. That doesn't have a sexual orientation. And doing this work and sharing my story is about showing that there's more to it than a listed string of identities and boxes. It means hope. It means showing compassion, kindness, understanding, and helping one another. So I run an organization called GYCC. It provides an umbrella of resources, support, connection, activities to the LGBT community at large across Yavapai County and the broader northern Arizona. So big, it's a lot of work. The LGBT community in rural areas looks different, and a lot of the community doesn't even identify with the letters themselves. And so it's hard to get the accurate measures. But if we look at national statistics, and national statistics are at least somewhat reflective, we're looking at an estimated around 47,000 LGBT people across northern Arizona. That's a lot of people, but they don't necessarily come out and sport rainbows and go to rallies. They exist within the framework and the fabric of the communities. It's like I say that LGBT people across northern Arizona are sprinkled like confetti, rainbow confetti across the state. The challenges are hard here. We have a high rate of homelessness, suicide, substance abuse, disconnect from families. If you can serve the LGBT community, and with all the challenges and all the hardships in rural communities, then you can serve anyone. First generation college student, and worked my way up through the ranks, and I start a brand new program at Harvard University in January to this business analytics and global leadership to create a template that's gonna change the lives of rural people around the world. I want to create that right here in Yavapai County first, and then take it to across northern Arizona and places like Mojave County and on the Navajo Nation and anywhere and everywhere across the Southwest region. You know, where there's deserts and people that live more than 20 miles from the grocery store. I want to take it everywhere.
Hi, my name is Zante Sharon Howell. I identify as him, his, 53 years old, and I reside in Tucson, Arizona. Being intersex in Tucson, Arizona to me means freedom, freedom to be who I am. I've been in Tucson, Arizona for about, I'm gonna say 18 years. I am originally from Brooklyn, New York. So being in Tucson, it's a slower pace. For probably about 20 years, even though I was in the military, I did music on the side. I did shows around in Phoenix. I did a couple of shows here in Tucson. I was on the radio. I met Ruth in 91. I met her over the phone through a friend of mine. We ended up being really good friends, and then from friends, we ended up being lovers, and now we're married. I helped her raise 3 beautiful children. They're adults now, but when I came into her life, they were 2, 3, and 4, and they are now grown in their 20s. That's me, that's Ruth, her aunt, and a friend of mine. That's your Auntie Pierre.
And that's him and I in New York too.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your face hasn't really changed as much.
What'd you say?
I said your face really hasn't changed much.
No, it hasn't. She's been a big part of everything that I've been experiencing. And she's been a wonderful part. It wasn't so wonderful at first because what? Education. She didn't understand, you know, and I tried to hide my life. And then I knew that I could no longer hide being who I truly was or truly am. Yes.
It hasn't been easy for us, you know, with family, with society, or just with ourselves. You know, I just love him. I just want him to be happy. If he would stay female, or if he didn't, him coming into himself has been a journey, but I would do it 10 times over with you, babe.
Thank you. You were the catalyst that got me, you know, on this journey. When I met you, you were the one who, like, I know you're not a woman. You're
yes.
different. Yeah.
I knew from the beginning. Yeah. And I stayed and never left.
She stayed.
You know? Even though he gave me a hard time. But you know. I'm still here. So I love you.
I love us too. My personal journey being intersex was quite difficult because when I started dating women from the lesbians, it was really difficult because I looked more like I guess you could say a dyke or stud. And when I would be intimate with the individual, she would say that I'm different, but I didn't want to be different. I tried to be a female. I really tried. I tried hard. I'm glad that I gave in because I just was never happy being Sharon was my name. I wasn't happy as that person. I felt really violated from the time that I had my testicles removed at a young age and I was put on estrogen, and it was really, really hard. I had a hard time in school. I had a hard time with friends. I had a hard time with myself because when you're on hormones that young as a child and you know you're a guy, you know you're a male, but there's chemicals going on in your body and your brain that's fighting against you, saying that you're female because of the estrogen. And I didn't want to talk about being intersex because I had such a hard life as a kid with my family. But once I transitioned, it's been amazing. I don't harbor a lot of anger. I had so much anger. I was an angry person. I wasn't a happy person. I went to a party in Phoenix and one of the women knew about me there. She said, "You're one of those type of people." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "I heard about you." And the women wanted to see me. So they came after me and tried to look below to see for themselves. My opinion as far as the LGBT community needs to embrace intersex more. I didn't know that the LGBTQ was, I didn't know intersex was a part of it. I didn't really find out until I started transitioning. And someone mentioned, you know, they have the I in the LGBTQ. And I'm like, I always felt that it wasn't for me. In the LGBT community, it was easier to come out as gay than intersex. If there was more information out there when I was in my younger years, I would have gone to the LGBT community and asked for help. And, you know, some of us might need some place to go for shelter, for counseling. I would say I have had more discrimination with the color of my skin than being intersex. And I've had more discrimination of people thinking that I was gay or like acting like a man when I was really acting like myself. No one should be judged by how they look. Get to know the person first. I would like to see changes made for intersex babies, for babies that are being born. I think that they should leave it up to the individual until they're old enough to make their own decision to choose whether they want to stay that way or be male or female, whatever that they decide. I didn't get that choice. When I was born in 65, they just made you female because it was easier. You know, who is it easier on? It's easier for the doctors, but it's not easier on you. So make sure that you make the difference. Be your own person. You know, be an advocate for yourself because that's what I have to do. This is a letter from TRICARE saying that they're going to cover my surgery.
That we've been waiting.
That I've been waiting for.
Time.
For what? I've been contacting them for at least 5 or 6 years. I've been calling and emailing them, but it's best to write a letter. Mm-hmm. This is what you can get. You can get this right here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My name is Caitlin Breedlove. I identify as queer. I'm 37 years old and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. And being queer to me in Phoenix means being loved. I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and I grew up my childhood in what I would call a really stable, white working class neighborhood. So most of our neighbors were not middle class. Some of them were struggling more than others, but there was really coming out of benefiting from a union progressive economy. This picture is from our original home. This is my sister and I. This is my little sister and myself, and this was our car. It sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. My mom is an immigrant. She came over with her mother, my grandmother, and her sisters in the 60s. But as I got older, I started thinking a lot more about immigration, but also about how relatively smooth the immigration process had been for my family. And pretty early on, I remember as a kid having a sense of that was because we were white. I think a lot about being much more middle class, having assets, my partner and I raising our son in this house. Like, I think a lot about class, and I think a lot about how class has informed my political life. So my partner and I live here in Phoenix and live in this house with our son, who is 11 months.
Los gatos. Miau. Miau. El pececito.
The thing that primarily comes to my mind and my heart when I think about having a young child here and being two community organizers that are passionate about our work in different ways has really been the community. I've always felt that kind of a very heteronormative idea of a nuclear family. I felt so sad when I've watched my queer and trans family try to aspire to that or take that on, because I've always felt like a lot of straight people are really lonely in that configuration. So why are we trying to replicate it? I do think there's something about a radical queer friendship model that's also like, you know, there's a lot of reciprocity and consensuality and mutuality in those relationships. And I think that is really important. So I've been a community organizer almost 20 years. A lot of my organizing was at Song, Southerners Underground, where I was doing LGBT organizing, primarily with working class people, immigrant people, and folks of color. I think our bread and butter with our membership was building that sense of kinship, family, really understanding what was going on for our members in the community we worked with. I've been in Arizona for about 3.5 years. My day job is working with faith communities nationally to connect them with grassroots movements and working in feminist organization building. I'm also really proud to be the board president of Equality Arizona. Phoenix and Maricopa County have more LGBTQ people per capita in the population than New York or DC or Chicago. And secondly, we have a huge number of LGBT bars. We have a very large number of community bars. Activists in the last 10 to 15 years in progressive movements have gotten really good at organizing each other. And even though I've been part of that strategy many times, I'm not invested in it anymore because I don't think we're winning from it. I really love that Equality Arizona's work focuses on organizing the majority of our community, which is the unorganized part of our community. We had our first bar crawl last weekend. We spent not that many hours, maybe 3.5 hours, and talked with 750 people in these bars about why voting matters, why we feel like this election is actually not just about the candidates, but really a referendum on Trumpism, which is also a referendum on homophobia and transphobia and racism and anti-Semitism. Intersectional organizing, really just meaning organizing that brings together understanding where class and race and culture and gender and sexuality meet. It's really best acted out on the ground. Like, you can talk about it, you can have a conversation, but that's not the same as going and really engaging the community where they actually are, and listening to them and figuring out how to get engaged, how to get them engaged. I think this moment politically to be an LGBTQI person in Arizona or any red state is pretty confusing. I think a lot of us are wondering which wins we've fought for over the last 15, 20, 25 years are going to still be in place in the immediate future, what we might lose. And I also think we've gotten fairly forgetful about how we got here, and particularly those of us who have more privilege in the community. I think remembering that it's actually our own organizing, our own infrastructure, and our own ability to resist and fight back for our community. I'm really proud that the board of directors at Equality Arizona has moved towards being a community board, deepening the representation from trans communities, gender nonconforming communities, working class communities, and immigrant communities is really important to me. When the conversation in the boardroom looks like the conversation we're having when we're doing outreach, we're able to build a different kind of organizational culture, and I am really excited about us taking that direction. What are the basic needs of our community and our folks? Our people need to be able to not be homeless when they're children and as adults. Our community needs to be able to practice what any kind of work they can get and do so safely, and sometimes that is sex work. Not be living in poverty, being attacked by racist police systems, by racist immigration systems. It's so critical that the LGBTQI community is involved in every fight for justice, because we represent every community that lives in this state.
Hola, buenas tardes, mi nombre es Jaime, tengo 36 años y me identifico como un chico gay y vivo en Phoenix, Arizona. Ser gay en Arizona, somos un blanco de la policía y de nuestra propia comunidad. Que no se detengan, que cumplan sus sueños, que a pesar de la adversidad vamos a salir adelante, que no se dejen vencer, que luchen por lo que quieren y sobre todo que nadie los haga sentir menos. Yo soy del estado de Michoacán, al centro sur de México. La homosexualidad no es muy bien recibida, entonces también tenemos los diferentes grupos de narcotráfico, entonces es bien difícil lidiar con eso día a día y mucho más cuando uno es homosexual. Entonces cuando mi mamá me dijo, ¿sabes que te vas a venir conmigo? Entonces yo estaba así como, ok, tengo que irme. ¿Cómo vivir un día en Arizona? Me da pena salir a la calle porque siento que la gente me mira y me miran como con ojos como de que soy raro, de cómo hablo, cómo me expreso o cómo me visto. Yo vivo mi vida feliz y no me importa lo que los demás piensen. Cuando yo sé que no le estoy haciendo nada a nadie, no me importa lo demás. Y si mi familia me acepta, lo demás no me importa.
¿Cuáles son los problemas más grandes a los que la comunidad latina queer se enfrenta ante la sociedad?
Enfrentamos el racismo, porque entre nosotras mismas ejercemos el racismo, entre nuestra propia comunidad.
Exacto, también.
Sí. ¿Alguna otra cosa como la aceptación familiar?
Lo principal es la desestabilidad emocional. Con el racismo, la no aceptación, el no acceso a la salud, el no respeto a la identidad de género, todo conlleva a una desestabilidad dentro de la comunidad que nos hace reaccionar de diferentes maneras, pero definitivamente yo creo que ese es un conjunto de problemas.
Yo tuve un percance de esos con un doctor, que yo fui a hacerme mis chequeos y el doctor me hizo la pregunta que si mi familia no se molestaba porque yo me vestía de mujer.
Y yo creo que también otro punto importante sería, por ejemplo, cada uno tiene historias diferentes, traumas diferentes, tener el acceso a terapias o cosas así, ver de otro modo lo que es la comunidad y eso. Y
Yo pienso que para vivir felices y con dignidad en la ciudad donde estamos viviendo, que ahora es Phoenix, pienso que necesitamos juntarnos como comunidad LGBT. No importa si somos latinos, si somos güeros, si somos afroamericanos, pero tenemos que unirnos para tal vez exigir a las autoridades locales que dejen de discriminar como a la comunidad transgénero.
La comunidad no translatina, pienso que saben de nosotros, pero no tienen interés en apoyarnos, no tienen ese interés en en querer saber qué es lo que necesitamos. Como ellos están bien, ellos no tienen, se puede decir que no tienen los problemas que nosotros tenemos.
No tienen conciencia, la comunidad queer no latina, es de lo que pasa en detención, por ejemplo, ¿no? El no respeto a la identidad de género, el no respeto a un tratamiento hormonal, el hecho de que estas cuestiones sean violadas en detención y nuestra comunidad queer no latina no esté enterada, no la hace reaccionar y apoyarnos como necesitamos.
Otro de los factores que influye en esa actitud, yo creo, en no apoyarnos, es por lo que ven en la televisión, porque lo único que pasan son las cosas negativas que no sabemos muchas veces si son ciertas o no.
Y un punto muy importante, que la actual administración es la que se ha encargado de meterle miedo a la comunidad, no solo anglosajona, tal vez a la comunidad afroamericana, para que piensen que la comunidad latina solamente viene a robar, a delinquir, a tomar los puestos de trabajo de las personas que ya están aquí, y eso es totalmente falso.
Salimos de nuestros países, salimos abandonando nuestros hogares, nuestras familias, nuestros seres queridos, toda una vida por rescatar nuestra propia vida. Estamos intentando sobrevivir, no estamos queriéndole robar nada a nadie, no queremos hacerle nada a nadie, no queremos hacer ningún daño, simplemente queremos sobrevivir. Eso es lo que queremos. Es el por qué salimos huyendo de nuestros países en toda Latinoamérica.
Busquemos un refugio en un lugar donde también no nos quieren.
Tengo un caso todavía pendiente con migración. Como algunos saben, fui deportado por un DUI. Me entregué en la garita de Nogales y estoy peleando un caso de asilo. Estoy en un limbo, no pude aplicar para un permiso de trabajo, no tengo ni una identificación conmigo, entonces no sé qué vaya a pasar. Y pues tengo miedo con la nueva administración, me aterra la idea de volver a mi país, porque me voy a sentir perseguido por mi orientación sexual. Cuando fui sentenciado por un DUI, estuve 4 meses en las carpas, lo cual no fue muy agradable, es algo muy feo. Entonces después de eso me mandaron con migración. Estuve un año entero peleando un caso de migración. Estuve en Eloy, Arizona, en el centro de Eloy para detenidos con migración. Y ahí miré de todo. Era un constante abuso a nuestra comunidad. Éramos pocos, pero a la vez éramos unidos.
A tratar de entrar por el puerto de Nogales para ver si nuestro caso lo reconsideran, lo abren y peleamos el caso desde suelo americano. Y vamos a llevar el mensaje al presidente Obama de que pare las deportaciones.
Y luego cuando me deportaron, cuando me entregué a la garita de Nogales, me mandaron para Florence, ahí estuve 7 meses y era lo mismo. Es bien importante que nuestra comunidad esté en todos esos ámbitos para que nos puedan representar a nosotros, que tal vez nuestra voz no es tan escuchada como sería la de ellos no sé, en un congreso o en un senado. Mi visión sería que no hubiera fronteras y que no tuviéramos tanto racismo, tanta xenofobia, homofobia, que la gente abriera su cabeza y se dejaran empapar de lo que nosotros podemos aportar como personas LGBT que somos, que se dieran la oportunidad de conocernos, que no somos malas personas, que al contrario, que somos, no sé, somos muy felices. Cuando estamos en las reuniones siempre nos estamos riendo, estamos echando relajo. Entonces así somos allá afuera también, no somos de otro mundo, no somos de otro planeta. Entonces mi visión sería como estar todos juntos como hermanos, vernos como personas, no como vernos qué hacemos o qué no hacemos detrás de una puerta. Entonces esa sería mi visión.